What is up, guys? Fadeaway82 coming at you with another edition of Rust Tactics. This is a series that takes a look at vanilla player interactions on Rust servers, and specifically today we're taking a look at player movement. So if that's something that doesn't interest you, you've been warned. But what we're looking at right now is a team of men moving out here, and they are at the squad level. So a squad's going to be about 7 to 8 men in terms of typical military formations. Below that, you'd have a fire team, which would be a 3 to 4 man group, and then above that, the platoon level, which would be typically 2 or more squads, so you're looking at about max range of 30 men when it comes to that. And in Rust, typically we see at the max platoon level movements, which would be considered maybe a larger raid. But for this video, we are taking a look at the squad level. Just like in real life, I think in Rust it is important to have squad members assigned to different roles. So you want to have your scouts or your recon setting out ahead of the squad, and then you want to have a squad leader, an assistant squad leader, and then your men who are going to be your primary, for all intents and purposes, we'll use the military term and call them riflemen. So each member of the squad also should be trained, just like in the real world, to use all the weapons and equipment that are composing the squad. So if one member goes down, the other member can pick up that person's weapon and fight. So train all your members in whatever your squad is carrying, even things like the M249. It's good to have everybody on the same page. Notice here when this group was moving out, one of the squad members stayed back and he made sure his group was covered while they crossed the stream. That's very important in Rust because it does impede your progress when you're swimming and you can't fire or manipulate your weapons, so it's important to have some members watching your back. Now this squad, the disposition or composition of it is, they're using sort of a column formation here, which is good, but not necessarily for the wide open spaces there. So columns are typically going to be used for crossing irregular terrain. They work well in the forest areas, and they facilitate immediate action towards flanks on both sides. They're not going to be good at what's in front, though, so they have to be very careful, and they're very prone to sniper nests, attacks, things like that if the terrain is not scouted out. That's why it's important to have those scouts there. So because of the terrain in Rust is so dynamic, it changes from seed to seed, and with the addition of the trees now spawning back in the area of the building radius, things are much more dense, and you want to always consider that squad members must be adaptive to the unique needs of the terrain, and that changes from moment to moment in Rust when you're running around these randomly generated seeds. So you want to have spaced out movements. In this group's formation, they were using a spaced stagger column, which again is going to be very useful for when you're crossing that open terrain. If you don't space out your formation, you're going to be extremely prone to automatic weapon fire from like a sniper's nest or just an ambush in general. And if they're using a weapon that has an especially deep cone of fire and your formation is too tight, you're going to go down very quickly. I really liked how when this group moved in to raid this base, different members seemed to have roles they went to almost automatically. Likely that was due to good communication, but it did appear as though this squad was comprised of different members who had different roles. You'll notice that some members went right to the fringes to skirmish with any incoming nakeds or players who were coming in on the raid, and then there was a core group that was able to focus on the raid and not have to worry quite as much about their situational awareness because they knew that their squad mates had those points covered. Rust is a game that surprisingly simulates real-world things very well, and movements outside of a base are going to be absolutely completely different to movements inside a base. So CQB, or close quarter battle inside a base, is not the same as it is outside, so tactics have to change once group members enter in. And holy despawn, guys, right? But getting back into it, Rust is a game where you have to adapt to the environment, whether it's inside a base or outside a base, and it's not a mill sim, but it does things surprisingly well in terms of capturing what things are often like in real life skirmishes. It's a really interesting game, and I hope that this captures that, and I hope it gives you sort of a taste of that. If you guys are currently playing Rust, I hope that you'll consider thinking more about it as though, you know, it could be more real in a sense, because it will inform your movements in Rust. And the more carefully and thoughtfully you move around the terrain in Rust, and also compose your squad, is really going to pay off. You'll notice even in larger raid cams, platoon level raids, oftentimes the dynamics are always the same. They herd into the same raid base, the same forward operating base, when if they broke down into separate squads, or even separate platoons if it was that large, that it would be a very different outcome. So what you guys are looking at right now is some artwork from an old decommissioned 1940s US Army manual. I think it's interesting because it shows you some of what we've been talking about and just gets you to kind of think in that mindset. So hope you enjoy this series that is Rust Tactics. Haven't done an episode for a while. I know some people have been asking for it, and It is a series again that focuses on PvP interactions, player interactions rather, on vanilla Rust servers, and this one specifically is talking about squad level tactics in Rust. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think and what tips and tricks you might have to inform your Rust movements. As always guys, Fadeaway82, peace.